Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Louise Hubar begins now.
Good evening. A proposed heart centre at the Launceston General Hospital has now been confirmed, with the Prime Minister committing $120 million to the project. It comes after heavy scrutiny by opposition parties and lobby groups after funding was left out of the state budget.
A big day for Tasmania. The Prime Minister arriving at the Launceston General Hospital to confirm the federal government will stump up the cash for the Northern Heart Centre.
People in northern Tasmania should not have to cross the Bass Strait to the North Island in order to get the health care that they deserve.
It was a Tasmanian Liberal election commitment, but not included in the state budget. The federal government ultimately convinced it should be the one to loosen the purse strings.
What Tasmanians expect is their federal and state governments to work together in the very best interests of them.
Tasmania has the highest rates of cardiovascular disease in the country. The Northern Heart Centre will deliver expert cardiology services, including a new coronary care unit with 23 beds for inpatients. The Fed's also splashing the cash on Tasmania's public schools to help more students struggling in class.
To identify children who are falling behind when they're little, and then make sure that we intervene and provide them with the sort of supports that will help them to catch up and to keep up and to finish school.
Tasmania signing the Better and Fairer Schools Agreement, which will see an additional $300 million invested in the state's public schools from next year. But State Labor and the Education Union have given the deal a bad report card.
Despite what the Prime Minister wants to say, we are falling short of our students of about $1,000 per student.
The PM's generosity not forthcoming when it came to exempting the Macquarie Point Stadium funding from GST calculations.
No.
Why not?
Because if we did that, we'd have to do the same for the Olympic sites in Queensland and for every infrastructure project in the country.
For the Premier, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Melinda Ogden, 7 Tasmania News.
Former Olympic rower Simon Burgess will now learn his fate at the end of October after appearing in the Hobart Magistrates Court today, pleading guilty to 3 counts of breaching a family violence order and common assault in 2023. His lawyer citing poor mental health and alcohol use when he allegedly entered a woman's home and struck her multiple times. Telling the court he accepts he shouldn't have done it and his intent wasn't to hurt her. Burgess represented Australia during 3 Olympic Games, including Athens in 2004. And if this story has caused any distress, you can contact 1800-RESPECT. A 14-year-old girl is facing several charges after allegedly going on a rampage with a hammer in Elizabeth Street Mall yesterday. She's accused of smashing windows and assaulting a staff member during the attack at around 5 p.m. Police say the worker wasn't seriously hurt and managed to restrain the teen until they arrived. She'll face the Youth Justice Court in November. To heart-stopping vision now of a Richmond motorcyclist's close brush with death. The rider was left counting his blessings after dodging an unexpected obstacle on the road, but he won't be giving his bike away anytime soon.
A peaceful Sunday ride changing in a heartbeat to a life and death scenario. Luckily, Anthony Suter's still around to recount the moment 2 wheels bounced out of a ute and barrelled towards him at 80 kilometres an hour.
One wheel went across the top of my head, the other one landed about there and then clipped up and hit this bar and bent the bar up.
He was riding home to Richmond along Tea Tree Road when it happened. Despite 50 years of motorcycling experience, he says it's regular training refresher courses that made the difference, avoiding tragedy by millimetres.
We keep doing the training, then it becomes like muscle memory and we do it before we really realise we're doing it and it saves our life. So I had a split second to make a decision and fortunately I made the right one.
Several other states mandate cargo nets for utes and trailers carrying loads. Anthony would like to see similar laws introduced here.
If there was a cargo net on that vehicle on Sunday, those wheels would not have come out. The number of times I've had to dodge stuff on the road, it's quite significant.
Even after his closest call yet, Anthony's not contemplating giving up his passion for the open road.
You know, I was lucky. I might have been unlucky. The way I see it, it's life, and you've just got to, you can't dwell on it too long. You've got to move forward.
Nick Kelly, 7 Tasmania News.
A course checker from Targa, Tasmania's high country race in 2022 has faced day 2 of an inquest into the deaths of 4 participants: Shane Navin, Lee Mundy, Dennis Nagel and Anthony Seymour, across 2 years of rallies. He revealed he didn't have any significant concerns about a cattle grid on part of the track, and there was appropriate signage in place to warn drivers. Motorsport Australia CEO Sunil Vohra also took to the witness box, admitting an educational campaign was prepared for potential competitors ahead of the 2022 event, but wasn't able to say if it was ready in time for the race. 4 tipsters have been rewarded for providing valuable information to police that ended in search warrants and arrests. With crime rates continuing to rise, authorities are continuing their call for Tasmanians to report anything suspicious.
Crime Stoppers receive up to 23 separate calls with new information every day, a number police say is growing.
It's certainly grown, particularly since the introduction of the online portal. We see a real appetite from the community to provide that information online.
In the last couple of months, some tipsters have been rewarded for coming forward.
We've issued 4 awards, all of $500 each, and the information varied for various ranges of crimes.
Those include a tip-off regarding suspected drug trafficking, dangerous driving, recovery of a stolen vehicle and the arrest of a convicted sex offender, with the identity of those providing the information kept anonymous.
We can guarantee that right from the word when the tipster rings in right through to they pick up their money at the bank. They're not asked one question about their identity.
Tasmanian Police can't keep Tasmania safe on its own. We need to work with the community.
Overall crime across the state continues to grow. Total offences this year compared to last has risen by more than 10%, from 32,621 between 2022 and 2023 to just under 36,000 in the past year. Out of those, 77% were offences against property, which includes stealing and destroying vehicles.
Doesn't even matter where you live. Yeah, it's anywhere.
I had one of my cars stolen and burnt out, and it's not a nice feeling.
My neighbour lost a trailer once off his front lawn.
A message from Crime Stoppers for anyone unsure if they should come forward with information.
If it looks sus, that it generally is, just pick up the phone, 1800 333 000.
Lily Thompson, 7 Tasmania News.
Police in northern Tasmania have cracked down on poor driving behaviour. Officers targeting drink and drug driving, speeding, mobile phone and seatbelt offences and the use of defective vehicles in a bid to lessen the road toll.
And even one fatal is too many. The impact on people who have lost loved ones or involved in serious crashes is very traumatic.
23 speeding fines were issued, while 35 vehicles had defect notices given. No drink drivers were detected, but one produced a positive result for drugs. Dozens of cyclists are taking on northern Tasmania's tough terrain in the fight against Parkinson's. It's a special journey for many of the riders whose lives have been turned upside down by the disease.
Final preparations ahead of the ride of a lifetime. Pedals for Parkinson's hitting the road in Launceston, the 500-kilometre journey raising nerves.
I mean, we can all do 100 Ks here, I think, in a day, but can we do 5 in a row? We'll see.
Diagnosed with Parkinson's 3 years ago, Craig's determined to stay active.
Well, it's the only thing that's been shown demonstrably to be able to slow the progression of Parkinson's disease.
25 cyclists suiting up for this year's full tour. double last year's event and smashing fundraising targets.
Really incredible. We have raised $35,000 so far. We had a goal of 25.
It's a special ride for Damien Ran. The Victorian lost his dad to the disease and is riding with a cousin who's also living with Parkinson's.
We don't know enough about the disease, so when we have events like this, we try and raise funds to understand more and learn.
Setting a course for Bridport today, some of the intrepid travellers are apprehensive about terrain.
Where I live, it doesn't have these hills, so the speed humps at the end of my street are the biggest incline I've got.
But riders happily tackled the trip's first hill climb, beginning an adventure which will see them cross the finish line back in Launceston on Sunday.
I know that whatever happens, we're going to enjoy it.
Annie Green, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmanians will soon be rewarded for recycling, with our state the latest to introduce the container refund scheme. From mid-next year, locals can return single-use drink containers at reverse vending machines in exchange for a 10-cent refund. The initiative, which will be run by Tomra Cleanaway, will aim to reduce litter and promote recycling. Young women are striding into STEM through Hydro Tasmania's Girls in Power program. The initiative giving grade 9 and 10 students a taste of the renewable energy sector, hoping to power up a female future-proof workforce.
A hands-on experience outside the classroom, Hydro Tasmania attracting the next generation of STEM superstars.
I've really been interested in it since I was younger, but I haven't really been confident enough to put myself out there into STEM.
The organisation is hoping to break down barriers, helping to charge up young women's interest in a future career in engineering and technology.
Girls in Power program is designed to encourage and inspire young girls to take on more STEM subjects,
giving students a taste for the industry through interactive workshops, seeing how science, technology, engineering and maths are used in the real world at renewable industry sites across Tasmania.
Definitely interested in a career in engineering, so it's just nice to get a taster for mechanical and electrical down here.
Aiming to boost their confidence and participation in a field predominantly made up of men.
Fewer than 40% of STEM enrolments at university are women.
The confidence that girls would get from doing this sort of stuff would really improve statistics, I guess,
as well as future-proof Tasmania's workforce.
There's a STEM skills shortage in Australia, and Tasmania is not spared from that.
While these machines may be big and intimidating, it's hoped by giving young women an early introduction, they won't feel so small in a male-dominated industry. Rebecca Gaidaneris, 7 Tasmania News.
A high-tech tool is rolling out in TAFE classrooms, promising to cut the time it takes for apprentices to learn the art of welding. In an Australian first, 12 new simulators are being used to develop skills in a risk-free environment. The equipment designed to be identical to what's used in the real world.
It was a lot closer to the real thing than what I actually expected them to be when I saw the headsets there.
I'm born a maker welder by trade myself. I think this is technology we need to have and engage with. It's already proving that it can actually help the students learn quicker.
The equipment cost almost $500,000.
There's unrest brewing in the local footy world following the controversial axing of Clarence senior coach Peter Ryan. The Roos board deciding in a meeting last night to not extend his contract beyond the end of this season. People familiar with the process claim the decision is a political one. Since arriving at the club in 2022, Ryan has led the team to preliminary finals every year, finishing second on the ladder this season with a 14-4 record. In a statement released by AFL Tasmania, the Clarence board says Peter was a popular member of the community and thanked him for his service, and that is now exploring options to recruit a new playing or non-playing senior coach. Meanwhile, the officials have been locked in for Saturday's AFL decider, and Tasmanian umpire Nick Foote has been named to make his grand final debut. It'll be his 239th game with the whistle and his 9th final. The Hutchins boys have followed the Prospect girls to claim their maiden Tassie Hawks Cup. Surging to the lead in the second half, the Southern team was a little sluggish out of the blocks against St Pat's, having played 3 straight games in the round-robin finals tournament at UTAS.
It's tiring, very tiring, but yeah, it takes a bit of a toll on your body, but all worth it in the end.
Ted Banks-Smith voted Hutchins most valuable player in the 24-8 win to claim the statewide Years 9 and 10 comp. And a rainy day in Melbourne didn't leave much time for cricket in the Tigers' second one-day clash, but there was still plenty of action. In just 16 overs of play, Gabe Bell and Beau Webster managed 2 wickets each as the Bulls blasted their way to 5 for 128, but low light would eventually force a draw mid-afternoon. And local cricket season almost upon us, and the hunt is on for more umpires to help officiate local matches at all levels. You don't need to be a whiz, full training is provided, but it's a pretty good gig for cricket tragics.
It's the best seat in the house, Nick, the best seat in the house. But yes, it's handy if you know the laws already, and we look forward to helping you become an umpire. We do free training for people and help them along the pathway till they become an autonomous umpire.
Last year's Umpire of the Year, Babek Sedai, took up the challenge after moving here from Nepal 5 years ago and loves it.
There was a passion when I was very young and love for the game was there, and that's the reason I was into the cricket. And I think, yes, because of the passion and love for the game, I'm umpire now.
If you're interested, visit tascricketompires.com.au. There's also a small payment involved to sweeten the deal. Yeah, I'm not sure I've got the attention span to be a good cricket umpire, Lou.
Yeah, me either, Nick. Maybe next time. Thank you for that. Kai Wicks will join us after the break with the weather forecast.
Good evening. Hobart 14, 16 the state's high in Launceston and 15 for Devonport and Burnie. Today 15 observed at St Helens and Friendly Beaches. Flinders Island, Smithton, Low Head and Bushy Park all 14. We saw 13 on King Island, Maria Island and Strawn, 12 for Grove and 6 in Lyowini. The satellite here shows high cloud clearing to the east of the state today. An extensive area of cloud over much of the country extended across the Tasman Sea as convective cloud developed through northern and central parts. Tomorrow, a cold front will clear further into the Tasman Sea as a ridge of high pressure builds in the Bight and extends a ridge across southern states. Southwesterly winds 15 to 25 knots about the north, grading 25 to 30 knots about the south and lower east. Westerly swells increasing to 4.5 metres. We have a strong wind warning for coastal waters tomorrow between east of Flinders Island to Sandy Cape, inclusive also of Storm Bay and the Channel. The warning to sheep graziers in the southeast continues, as does a bushwalkers weather alert for the west. Cloudy skies all round in the south tomorrow, Hobart 13, 12 for Cygnet and New Norfolk. Partly cloudy in Launceston and Devonport, both 14, 12 and cloudy also in Campbelltown. 13 and partly grey skies in Burnie and Smithton, 13 is the maximum, 11 and possible showers for Strawn. Partly cloudy skies extending to the east, 14 in St Helens and Swansea, 13 in store for Fingal. The forecast for Friday, some areas will wake to morning inland frosts, but showers should stay away. On Saturday, inland frosts continue about the south. It will otherwise be a fine day for an AFL Grand Final clash. But back to showers, unfortunately, statewide on Sunday, with temperatures remaining in the mid to high teens and early 20s for parts of the south and the east. Looking a little further north now. Possible late showers for Brisbane tomorrow, 29, a little warmer in Darwin, 34, 16 and rain in Sydney, and 14 and cloudy in Melbourne. Clear conditions across the state. Hobart currently 10 degrees. Also clear in Launceston and Devonport with 11. Lovely to see you, Lou. And that is all for midweek weather, rather.
We got there in the end. Thank you for that, lovely Kaya. That's all your news for now as well. I'll be back later on with updates. Thanks for joining us. Good night.